Howdy, folks. I'm Mossy Muscovium, morosely mopping messy mustard.
I'm Amber.
And here is more messy mustard for us to mop up. Don't ask me why Muscovium is mopping mustard, because I don't have those answers.
Probably because Moscovium likes mustard a little too much and puts a lot of it on their sandwiches.
That's probably true. Let's get started. So I can say you can never have too much mustard.
That is very much a false statement.
Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My 60-year-old that Santa isn't real? I'm a 39-year-old male, and I was watching the movie Elf with my wife, a 32-year-old, and my 6-year-old daughter. We reached the scene where the elves are working on Santa's sled to make it fly because not enough people believe in Santa. My daughter latches on to this and just keeps asking, is Santa real? Her mother says yes, but my daughter kept asking me as well. I said, Santa is a great idea and a lot of fun, but he's not real. For some context, I love Christmas, but I didn't get to celebrate Christmas until I had a family of my own. I was raised in a family whose religion prohibited Christmas. I couldn't wait to get out and experience all the moments that I missed, so we do Christmas as a big thing as we can. All the stereotypical traditions, and for the past 5 Christmases, I've passively went along with the Santa idea with my daughter, even though I told my wife that I didn't like lying to her, and that I don't see the point in lying about something that would eventually come out no matter what. I told my wife that I wouldn't lie if I was ever asked. Well, the moment finally came. She asked me, and I said that he wasn't real. At first, my daughter was fine. My wife gave her some long explanation as to why she's lucky that we get her presents. And my daughter didn't really like this explanation and was upset. We both told her that some parents work really hard to convince their kids that Santa exists, and that she shouldn't try to convince kids otherwise. My wife definitely felt like I should have lied. Eventually, my wife asked my daughter if learning that Santa wasn't real changed how she feels about Christmas, and my daughter said, kind of. My wife thinks that I should have lied, that kids believing in Santa is harmless, and that I can't relate to Christmas from a child's perspective because I didn't have those experiences. I think that we played along with the tradition for as long as we could, but when my daughter directly asked me, the truth was a better option. I can't really walk this one back, and we will all have a good holiday, but am I the jerk? Alright folks, what do you think, jerk or not the jerk?
I'm going to say both parents are a little bit of a jerk here for not coming to a consensus beforehand. It seems like the wife went in assuming that we're just going to tell her that Santa is real and we're going to play make-believe for as long as we can. And Opie is like, yeah, no, if she asks me, I'm just going to tell her no.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have parents who are not on the same page, that leads to confusion and hurt.
Yeah, I think that either everyone's in the wrong or no one's in the wrong here. I can understand OP not wanting to lie to their daughter, and I think it can be problematic because, where does the line of trust begin and end, right? And I don't know. I don't know if a lot of people would feel like Santa, for instance, is a huge betrayal from their parents or not. And I think that that's just one of those kind of realities that there are some games that we play for a long time.
Well, and the thing is, though, and why I kind of think he's being a bit of a jerk is that it puts his wife in a bad light. If he directly contradicts her immediately,
Yeah.
then it sets the mom up as a dishonest figure.
Well, that's true.
And that's why I think they should have come to a consensus. Either they both are on board and we're going to pretend that Santa is real until X time or X scenario, or we're going to just do Santa stuff, but explain that Santa isn't real and this is all a big game of make-believe.
Yeah. Well, and then I think you can also answer questions like that carefully in a way that doesn't really form a lie either.
Right, yeah. Some careful thing about Santa is as real in your heart or as real as you believe him to be or some sort of thing like that. There are lines you can throw away that are they're not really lies. They're just,
Well, and it would have played well into that scene with Elf and them saying to their daughter, Santa's as real as you want to believe that he's real. And that would have been something that she could have been like, oh, well, then I believe he's real, right? That gives the child a choice as to whether or not they want to continue to believe or not. And I think that that's really, in some ways, a little more empowering. And it doesn't make it murky as to whether or not the parents are telling the truth or not.
Right, yeah.
And, it's really hard because it is kind of a deception that a lot of kids are told, but I wouldn't say that a lot of kids would come away from it scarred or anything like that.
Yeah,
But
no, I mean, I don't think we ever had the conversation of is Santa real with my parents. And so even when we figured it out, we're like, well, if we don't say anything, we'll just keep getting Santa presents. And literally, I get Santa presents up through my first year that I moved out of the house. So,
yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So, anyhow, take care and good luck. Twilio says, so many jerks in the comments. You're the jerk. When I was a child, I would ask my parents just so I could continue believing. It made Christmas more magical and fun. One of my most positive memories is my father using his muddy boots to make footprints from the fireplace to the tree, and eating the cookies that we set out. Me and my brother were so excited, we bragged to all of our grandparents that we had evidence for Santa. When I found out the truth, I was older than most, 10, but not sad. To be honest, I thought my parents genuinely believed in Santa, and I tried to brag that I was smarter than them. Later, I came to realize and appreciate how much effort my parents took to keep the spirit of Christmas alive. You're a mega Grinch, and I'm tired of people thinking that kids need the truth 100% of the time. Daddy, what are my odds of dying in a car accident? Ah, yes, child, because I swore not to lie to you, you can die at any time. Being a kid is magical. You believe in so much beauty and spirit surrounding life that it's fragile and disappears when you become an adult. It makes me sad to see that magic ends so soon. I mean, I think that they have some point here, but I also think that they're a little bit reaching with their point in the respect that, like, you can still tell kids odds and whatnot. It's like, well, it's not very likely.
well, yeah, I mean, definitely the last is like kind of a straw argument.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I mean, you could die in a car accident at any time, but there are literal odds. It's like, it's
It's
not,
very exceedingly rare for children to die in general in the US at any rate.
yeah. So, again, like, sure, there are scary things that you don't want to, that you need to talk to your kids about in a age appropriate way. And certainly, I think that, again, Santa can be one of those age appropriate conversations. Now, if a kid is really insistent and really wants to know the truth, then, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it, right? At a certain point, like, if they don't believe, then they don't believe. But I think what this person's parents did was set out a bunch of evidence as kind of a red herring in order to make it more believable so that they didn't actually have the doubts. And I think,
Well, I think that actually that's one of I think the interesting and fun things about Santa is the game of collecting evidence and like because the first time I questioned whether Santa was real, I was 7 years old. I was in second grade, and we had this globe, and I looked at where the North Pole was on the globe, and there was nothing there. Now, what I didn't understand was that was just land masses. There's ice there, but there's no land. So I was like, well, how can Santa live there if there's nothing there? So I was using evidence. It was wrong evidence, but that was how I kind of came to the conclusion that Santa might not be real.
yeah.
And I think like kids can get a lot of enjoyment out of collecting pieces of evidence for or against something. And so
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a really healthy approach and a really healthy way of approaching things. And I don't think that it creates an unnecessary deception either. And maybe it throws red herrings in there, but I don't know if parents need to confirm or deny that Santa's exists. And I think in this particular case with OP, he could have really easily gotten around it by saying something like, well, what do you think? Do you think Santa's real?
well, that's the thing is like, I mean, obviously I'm not a parent, but I think that turning it onto the kid and trying to have them reason through why they think or not instead of providing direct answers might actually be a good way to go. And then you gauge how much the kid is invested in Santa too. Like, is this something that they really, really are invested in and they just want confirmation? Or is this something they're like, I don't think this is a thing.
And OP replies, see, this is interesting because I couldn't disagree with his point of view more. To use your example, if asked what my odds of dying in a car accident were, I would say less than 1%. To me, the truth is comforting. Seatbelts are awesome. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Coworker That I Won't Watch Her Kids? I'm a 28-year-old female and I work in an office setting, but I travel occasionally for work. On these occasions, I always bring my girlfriend, Sadie, a 32-year-old female, with me, and we make it a mini vacation. I would say that I travel maybe 9 times a year, and each time is maybe 5 to 10 days. The company that I work for pays for travel, living, and food expenses. Anything that I don't use is paid out, but with the two of us, we easily use it all. I should also note that I've been with this company for nearly 10 years, did schooling through them, and I worked hard for my position. I have a coworker, a 36-year-old female, Sue, who is a mom of 4 kids under the age of 8. Sue has been with the same company for 15 years, and as long as I've known her, I've only considered her an acquaintance. She often gives me grief about not having kids and how I'm lucky. The issue happened a few days ago when I rejected a travel job and Sue begged my boss to let her try. He caved because it was an emergency and I had already scheduled off for Thanksgiving. Sue made all of her arrangements and asked if I could watch her kids for the week that she was gone. I told her no because I'll be traveling, and she told me this will be a great way for me to experience the joy of having children. I told her no, that I didn't want to watch her kids because I enjoy my kid-free life and I refuse to travel with kids. We went back and forth for a bit before I told her to stop asking me because my decision was final. And I won't compromise Sadie's trip just because she got a wild hair up her butt to do something that she's not nearly qualified enough to do. I did not tell her the last part. I just said that I don't want to compromise Sadie's trip because she's hosting with her mom. From the grapevine, I heard that her husband drove their kids an hour to her parents' house before leaving. A few of my coworkers are all saying that I was very cold for not helping her out, since she only wanted to experience what I do. My boss thinks that I'm in the right because I shouldn't compromise the pay time off that I placed in advance months ago for something that she planned in less than a week. Sadie is 50-50, saying that she understands that Sue gets under my skin often, but that we could have done the trip with them and survived. Am I the jerk? Edit, the reason Sue's husband didn't take the kids is because she invited him to go on the trip with her. He's actually a pretty cool guy, even though I've only met him half a dozen times. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
No, not the jerk. And all those coworkers who are giving you grief, tell them they can watch her kids. Like,
Yeah, why didn't they watch the kids?
exactly. Like, who goes up to someone they're a passable acquaintance with, if not a little bit of a rivalry going on, and it's like, can you take my kids to your Thanksgiving celebration and watch them for a week? All 4 kids, it's going to be a great experience for you.
I mean, I understand her wanting to spend time with her husband and have a nice little trip away from the kids. I get that. But also, they have apparently grandparents, and the grandparents are more of the people who would watch the kids than random acquaintances.
Exactly.
I wouldn't know if I would even trust a random acquaintance with my children.
Right. Well, that's what's so weird about this is that there's no closeness between them. Like, who just like, hey, coworker, can you watch my kids for a week? Like, it just seems like such a bad idea on so many levels.
Yeah, it really does. I don't blame OP in the least. I wouldn't want that kind of liability. Like, what happens if something happens to these kids? And again, like, you're not close with this person. So, I just don't think that it's a good idea.
Yeah, well, and kids are rambunctious. They could easily get hurt and need to go to the hospital. And then what's your coworker going to do then? Like, it just seems like an absolute nightmare. So I do not fault OP in the least bit. I do not understand how anyone is on the coworker's side. Like, again, that just blows my mind. It sounds like she wants OP to do this for free too, on top of that. Like,
Yeah, I will say this though. It sounds like she needs to have more job experience and that she needs to get out a little bit more. And I think that this is something that she really wanted to do. And I don't blame her for that. And I think that this can, like having kids can really hold back careers in a lot of ways. And that's unfortunate. And I don't think that's right. And I'm actually really glad that she got this opportunity. But I don't think that she should have been trying to put the responsibility of her childcare on OP.
right. Like, it's at the end of the day her responsibility and her husband's. Like, I know she wanted time with him, but he could have always stayed home and watched the kids if it was that much of an issue rather than a random coworker, or they could have hired a babysitter.
Yeah.
Or they have, it sounds like, one of their sets of parents an hour away isn't a very far travel to take the kids to drop them off.
No, not at all. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And do I lowly 6641 says, not a jerk. First, she tells you how lucky you are for not having children, which already doesn't make any sense. If one doesn't want kids, one shouldn't have them. I'm aware that accidents can happen, but 4 times, most people have unprotected adult intimate time and get pregnant and call it an accident. Like, what did they expect? Then she wants you to experience the joy of having kids. Which one is it? Not having kids is a lucky thing, or having kids is a joy. It can't be both. And finally, who asks a coworker to care for their children? From what you said that she doesn't even know you, she had no idea if you would be an awful person to the kids and mistreat them. Mind you, I'm not saying you would, I'm just saying that she doesn't know that. And OP replies, I'm sorry, a little bit of clarification. I didn't realize that a lot of people thought that she meant that I'm lucky because I don't have kids. She meant that I'm lucky because I have my job and my position. She revels in the fact that I don't have kids, and she does. And Duololi 6641 says, oh yeah, in that case, that makes a little bit more sense, and my first and second points are not valid. But I still stand by the third. I don't trust parents that just dump their kids on strangers. And OP replies, I wouldn't trust my kids with strangers, and the closest thing that I have to a child is a succulent that I found. Alright folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What do English sea monsters have for dinner?
They have chips and fish.
Fish and ships.
Oh, fish and ships?
Ships, yeah.
That makes sense. I was almost right. I was pretty close. I'm sure there are chips on those ships. And I have licorice spice. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Tuesday, spelled TWO. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please, have it in 3 words or less.
Consensus on Santa.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good advice. You do need consensus on Santa. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.